Spooniverse. Thanks for tuning in to Mixology 101, where every Friday, Anthony Caparelli, who is the Director of Beverage Studies at the Institute of Culinary Education, teaches myself, JD, a very clumsy spoon editor, how to make a seasonal cocktail. So if you have any questions while we're making the drinks, shoot them in the comments below and we'll answer them as we go along. But in the meantime, what's on the bar menu for tonight?
Well, today we are going to continue. We've been doing apples for fall, and we started out with a non-alcoholic apple cider drink. Then we moved to an apple cider drink that's hard apple cider, which is fermented. And then I told you we'd get even more alcoholic, and we're going to go with distilled. So we're going to go with a spirit today. And we're going to start with Applejack, because I want to talk a little bit about how alcoholic beverages are made. So we started again with non-alcoholic cider, which is basically sugar, water, and apple flavoring in there. And then you add, to turn it into hard cider, you add yeast, which we mentioned last time. Yeast will eat the sugar and excrete ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide. And voila, you have cider.
Alcohol.
Yes.
Cool.
Now the problem is alcohol is toxic, right? Even to us.
Yeah, poison.
Yeah, of course.
Totally.
And it's actually because it's yeast's excrement, it's toxic to the yeast too. So at a certain percentage, usually about 15%, in any fermented drink, the yeast stops making alcohol because it starts to poison its own environment. So that's why fermented drinks like beer and wine and cider top out at like 16, 17% alcohol by volume, ABV. Boom, right? So that's your fermented beverages. Now, in order to get spirits or distilled beverages, you have to go, you have to take another step. We have to actually take the alcohol and concentrate it. And we do that through a process called distillation. And that's based on the fact that ethyl alcohol and water boil at different temperatures. But there's an easier way to do it, and that's what the spirit that we're using today, Applejack, actually uses the other end of the temperature spectrum. It uses the fact that water freezes at, what temperature Fahrenheit? Do you know off the top of your head?
Absolutely not.
32 degrees Fahrenheit. And we used to learn that in school. 32.
Got it.
Well, ethyl alcohol, which is actually the main component in antifreeze in cars, doesn't freeze until negative 173. So this means if I have apple cider, which is water and ethanol, ethyl alcohol, and I freeze it below 32 degrees, the water will turn into a solid and the ethyl alcohol will stay liquid, and then I can scrape the ice off, and boom, I have a concentrated spirit.
Liquid gold?
Liquid gold, exactly. So this is how we made Applejack, and this is one of America's oldest drinks, and you find it in the northern latitudes, because what happens is they would just take barrels of apple cider and leave them out overnight in the winter. And as long as it got below freezing, they would wake up the next day and scrape the ice off, and they would keep doing that until one day it didn't freeze anymore, and then they knew all the water was gone. So then you had Applejack. Cool?
Making Johnny Appleseed proud.
And you know what's really funny? Most people think Johnny Appleseed was actually planting like Golden Delicious. He was planting cider apples, which you can't even eat. They're crab apples. And he was doing it so people actually had a way to make money and support themselves in a very bad economy. Yeah, he was actually planting cider orchards. Really cool. I'm glad you brought that up.
Patriotic drink.
Right, so first thing I want you to do is I want you to taste the Applejack, all right?
Yes,
so I'm just going to pour you a little bit. Now this has got a pretty strong flavor to it. So before you do that, I want you to add a little bit of water.
All right,
really important. Yeah, and we call it opening it up. And don't ever be afraid to do this, by the way. It doesn't make you less cool. This is how actual distillers taste things. All right, so give it a little taste.
Smell it?
Yeah, a little smell. It won't burn, and that means you'll actually be able to get some taste.
That's awesome.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
And so you're getting a little bit of apple.
I'm going to finish it. That's how good it is.
Good. So now, what we're going to do with this is we're going to make a Jack Rose, which is one of the first bar cocktail authors. David Embry wrote the first modern cocktail book, and right around mid-50s, called The Fine Art of Mixing Drinks. Every bartender has read this book. And to help us kind of remember them, he broke cocktails down into 6 categories and calls them the 6 classic drinks. We're going to make all 6 over the next 6 weeks. We're going to start with the Jack Rose, which is an Applejack drink. Okay?
Groovy.
So,
let's do
like we normally do, I'm going to make it first, and then you're going to make it. And we're going to start with 2 ounces of Applejack.
Okay.
And if you remember, what I did was, this side of the jigger is 1 ounce. You fill it all the way. Right. Palm down to palm up. Fabulous.
Such a great move.
Good. And then we're going to use grenadine. Now, this is the grenadine that most people use, and craft bartenders out there are going to yell at me for using it. But again, I want to make this accessible. Nothing wrong with this. Do you know what flavor grenadine is? Most people don't.
Like cherry?
That's what everyone thinks.
Maraschino?
It's actually pomegranate.
Oh, that's why it's so good.
It's pomegranate syrup.
Love it.
But, you know, it's kind of the more popular brands of grenadine have gotten to be more syrup than pomegranate.
Right.
So you can actually make this pretty easily, and maybe one day we'll actually make craft grenadine. I think that'd be fun. All right, so I did just 1/2 ounce of grenadine, and because this is a cocktail, we need something to balance that sweetness, and we're going to use lime. So I'm going to do fresh lime, and before you squeeze a lime, in order to make it a little easier to get the juice out, I want you to roll it. So basically, you take the blossom and stem ends. This was a fruit hanging on a tree, right? This is the stem, this is the blossom, and you just roll it between your palms. That softens it up a little bit. Make a nice bridge with your finger so you don't cut yourself, and then cut it right in half. Now, these are giant limes, so they won't fit in a press. So I'm going to show you how to do it manually. This is how I like to do it anyway.
Old school.
Yeah, put them together. You're going to take your middle and ring fingers and press it up against the meat of your hands. If you can see that, the palm, the ball, I think they call it, of your hand. And I want you to just kind of press with them facing each other, and you'll see that the juice runs straight down the lime. And then you're going to turn them 90 degrees and do the same thing. And what you can do at that point, now that they're nice and soft, is I can actually roll them between my fingers, and all that juice, instead of squirting all over the place, just runs into the other lime and runs right back into the drink.
I'm never going to juice a lemon or lime the same way again.
It's really easy. Now, here's the other cool thing about this, is you can see I got a lot of nice oils on that skin, right? That's actually the flavor of the lime juice. I mean, the lime, rather. The juice is mostly acid and water. That's got all the essential oils. So I'm going to drop that in, and I'm going to let the Applejack kind of do its thing, because that will dissolve in the
live its best life.
Alcohol. Right. Now, we shook last time, right?
Yes.
Good. So this goes on. I don't hit it. I just give it a little twist, step off the bar, and I shake from the shoulder of my top hand to the foot of my bottom hand. I really want to shake this good. Hopefully, I will get frost on the tin if the ice is cold enough, or if I've used enough ice. And I'm already getting some good frost on the tin. My fingers are getting nice and cold. If I was serving this in a bar, I would do it a little bit longer, but that should be good for right now. And then I'm just going to go ahead and take and push with my thumbs like we did last time. And then strain this right into a martini glass, or what we call a cocktail.
Look at that color.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
And that's why we call it a Jack Rose.
Woo.
And that traditionally doesn't even get any garnish. So go ahead and give that a taste and see. And I want you to start tasting for like balance now. See if you can get that sweetness versus the acidity, so you get a nice balance on the palate.
Oh, yeah.
Good, right?
It's
refreshing.
Like tart, but the syrup in there, totally refreshing.
Cool. And that's,
honestly, I could drink this in summer too, and spring and winter. Bring it.
And that's what separates the classic cocktails, the 6 classic cocktails, from just your basic mixed drinks. All right, you ready to try that?
Love it. Yes.
Awesome.
Let's do this.
So you have some ice in your tin. I didn't mention we already put the ice in the tin, because it makes it a little faster to do. Okay, and you're going to do
two Applejack.
Yep, I'm going to let you go.
Middle fingers.
Yeah,
do a little rest. Fill it up to the top. This is my favorite move.
Yeah, now I want you to get in the habit of taking this index finger and putting it right over here.
So it doesn't fall.
You got it. Plus, you just look really cool. Gives you a little more control of the bottle.
Oh, totally. I feel real fancy right now.
Look at you. That's amazing. Good job.
And then you're a great teacher.
Our grenadine.
A little bit of grenadine.
Same thing. Get that index finger on top.
Yeah.
Yep. Got to practice that muscle memory.
Yep.
Good. Boom. Really good. And you ready to juice that lime?
Let's do this lime.
Okay.
So question for you. It's a full lime when you're using fresh lime juice. Is it a different amount when if you're not using fresh lime?
So rule of thumb, every lime is different size, obviously, but rule of thumb is 1 lime is 1 ounce of juice. Now, it will vary a little bit, and so if I was making this for a restaurant patron or a competition or something like that, I would probably taste this just to see if I need to add a little more grenadine to kind of balance the lime, because I have a big lime here. But it's just us, and this, folks, this isn't rocket science. Nobody, you know what I mean? Nobody goes into cardiac arrest if there's a little too much lime juice. Some people like it that way. Right? So don't freak out over this. It's more important that you try this and get the techniques right. That's the most important thing. Keep trying it. Your technique will get better. You'll understand what you like, what your guests like. That's way more important than being real kind of anal about every single milliliter. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. Again, it's like cookies. Some people like a little extra salt. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Okay. Good job there. Look at that. Throw one of those in there so I get that oil. Yeah, and that's the oil and the zest. That's got all of the lime flavor.
All right. Let's do the most fun, but also
I'm going to give you some room. Now, just pull it to one side and just twist it a little bit so it locks. Great.
All right.
One hand on top, one hand on the bottom. Look at you.
I just feel like I'm going to have awesome biceps.
You are going to have awesome biceps, absolutely.
right. Look at that color.
Yeah. And this is another thing I like about shaking drinks is it gives it a nice kind of froth to it. And you get a little bit of foam on the top, which has a bunch of flavor in those air bubbles. It's just really, really pretty. Now, if you remember, I want you to turn the cup so that it's facing to the left or the right. So it's leaning. Yeah, good.
Ah, okay.
2 middle fingers as high up on the tin as they'll go. And then put that in your belly button, push with your thumbs.
Boom.
Every single time.
Just like magic.
Yep. Good.
Love it.
And go ahead and turn that upside down so it drains.
This smells.
All right, let's see. Well,
It
first
looks
of all,
good, but looks to me deceiving.
Yeah, I mean, but it looks beautiful. So that's, and it smells great. Oh, and just like you said, you get that tartness right in the back. You get the sweetness right on the tongue. It's just really balanced. It's a beautiful drink, right?
It's such a beautiful thing.
I love it.
Well, thanks for joining us again, Mixology 101, and we'll see you next Friday.
Cheers.